Today we're going to continue reviewing weather and how it changes the land. You were able to watch a weathering video on Thursday, and on Friday there was a video on weathering and erosion. It was a really cool video with experiments, so if you didn't get a chance to check it out, go back to Friday and watch the video. What is weathering, you ask? Weathering is the slow breakdown of rocks over time. It's very slow for this process to happen, but it changes all these beautiful images that you see. Rocks are broken down into sediment, little bits of rock. When weathering happens, rocks are broken down into smaller parts, sometimes big chunks, sometimes smaller rocks and pebbles, or sometimes tiny, tiny bits. We call all of these smaller bits of rock that weathering creates sediment. Can you say that word? Sediment. What causes weathering, you ask? Weathering can be caused by several things. First of all, weathering can be caused by wind. When wind beats down on a rock for a long time, the wind wears down the rock and breaks it into smaller pieces. Have you ever felt the wind on the side of your house during a very big storm? I know that I've lost pieces of siding or shingles from my roof before from a very windy storm. So imagine what wind can do to a rock over time. Water can also cause weathering. Waves hitting the rocks in this picture can cause the rock to wear down and break apart over time. Changes in temperature can cause weathering too. When the temperature gets very hot or very cold, some rocks might split apart and break. Temperature change can also cause ice to break down rocks. First, water's going to fall on a rock, and if that rock has any cracks, the water may drip inside. When the temperature drops, the water freezes into ice, and the ice expands. It gets bigger and takes up more space in the rock's cracks. The pressure from this happening inside of the rock can cause it to split and break apart. In the experiment video on Friday, he talked about a frozen water bottle. When you put a water bottle in the freezer, thinking that tomorrow you're going to have this nice icy water to take to school, you are surprised when you pull it out in the morning and it is expanded. When you open it up, the ice is actually coming above where the lid is, the top is, and the bottom, you can't even hold it up anymore. It won't stand because the bottom of the water bottle has expanded. So this happens in rocks where the ice will expand. It's bigger, takes up more space than water, and so it causes the rock to break. This happens in our streets in the winter, which is why we get cracks and potholes. So how does weathering happen? Weathering can happen for many reasons. Here are a few ways. Animals sometimes like to create homes in burrows in sandy areas or mountains, and so their homes create weathering. They cause a little hole that can grow over time. So they are changing the land. Plants. The root of a tree made this crack right here and right here. So as the tree gets bigger and expands and its roots grow deeper and deeper, that tree will break the rock and the break in the rock can get bigger. Water caused this canyon to get very smooth. So water can actually smooth something out. Water can also split items apart. And wind. Wind gave this pyramid a smooth surface. And wind also caused this weathering. There is no water around, so the wind is what has weathered and made this landform the way it is today. Now, let's talk about what erosion is. Erosion is the wearing away and changing of the Earth's surface. Erosion moves weathered, broken down rocks and soil. So weathering happens first, and then erosion is what moves it. So erosion is the process of moving weathered rocks and soil from one place to another. Erosion happens when water, ice, wind, or gravity move sediment. Soil and bits of rock can be blown by the wind, carried by the water, frozen in the ice, and washed away when it melts, or carried downhill by the force of gravity. Erosion can be caused by several types of weather. Wind can cause erosion. When the wind blows, tiny bits of rock or dirt can be blown away. There was a wind experiment to do last week on your LMS page, where you got to take a straw and some sand and see what happened when you created wind. Water can also cause erosion. Rivers move bits of rock and soil away. Rainstorms can also wash soil and rocks away. If you've ever been to the mountains or a hilly area after a storm, you can see the water rushing down the mountain or the hill and carrying rock and soil and sand with it. So ice can cause erosion. Sometimes particles and bits of rock get stuck in ice as it is forming, and then when it melts, it moves it away. This glacier also is moving the dirt on the river floor. So the dirt is getting frozen in there and moving with the glacier as it melts. Water can carry things downhill, like in this mountain, and hurricanes and floods can actually cause erosion. This is a picture of Miss Bass's hometown of Vero Beach, Florida. And I lived 5 houses from the beach growing up, so I got to witness a lot of erosion to our beaches. So when a hurricane happens, it causes erosion because the waves get really big and come onto the sand all the way up to where there were sand dunes. And they wash away the sand dunes, and over time they get closer and closer to the land where houses are. Over here, this boardwalk normally would be underneath the sand. And now the waves have come up so far that it's actually underneath, the waves are underneath it. So those big waves will come in and wash some of the sand away. So that causes erosion too. Wind can blow sand away. So wind is another form of erosion. I'm sorry to say we can't prevent weathering, because weathering is weather that happens, but we can help prevent erosion. Plants or man-made structures can slow erosion. People usually want to find ways to keep erosion from happening. Farmers want the soil to stop the soil from eroding so that their crops can grow. One way to do this is planting trees or bushes. The roots of trees can help anchor the soil in place. Walls can be built to stop soil from washing away and protect them from floods. That's something that they've done in Florida to help with the beach erosion, is that they've actually built walls or structures to keep the sand from going out into the ocean. These things won't keep erosion from happening, but at least they could help slow the process. Weathering and erosion happen slowly over time, but severe weather can cause fast changes. Weather changes our planet at different speeds. Usually, weathering and erosion are small processes. They take a long, long time to change the Earth. Look at the picture on the left. It can take years for wind or water to break down the rocks into smaller pieces. A bank along a small, slow-moving stream may erode the soil, but it would take a long time. Sometimes, though, the Earth sees faster changes. Weathering and erosion can happen faster when there's strong waves and they beat against the rock. Sometimes severe weather can cause fast changes to the Earth's surface. Storms and floods and hurricanes can quickly wash away the land. Look at the picture on the right. The brick wall, the soil, and the trees were washed away quickly by a flood. Some changes to Earth's surface can happen quickly, and others happen slowly. Are you ready to practice? You can pause and get your whiteboard and dry erase marker and try to answer on your board, or you could say the answer out loud at home. We're going to decide, is this picture weathering or is this picture erosion? Let's look at the picture. Ice and the cracks melt and create these big cracks in the rock. So cracks in a rock from ice, would that be weathering or erosion? If you said weathering, you're correct because weathering causes things to break down. In this picture, the snow is melting and moving dirt down the hill. It's moving. Is that weathering or erosion? If you said erosion, you're correct. When things are moving, that's erosion. So that as that snow melts, it's going to quickly start flowing fast down and picking up things along the way. Oh, those are the potholes in the street. Have you ever run over one of those when your mom or dad were driving? What's going to cause those holes in the concrete? Weathering or erosion? If you said weathering, that's correct. This happens especially in the winter when there's just a small crack and then water freezes in there and then it expands and cracks bigger and so it happens over time. But we can see this happen in one winter. This is another picture from Miss Bass's hometown. As you can see, the place where people can sit on the beach is getting smaller and smaller, and the sand dunes are getting smaller as waves come in and move the sand out. Would that be an example of weathering or erosion? Very good, that's erosion. And this is actually what it looked like after a hurricane. So the hurricane had come in and taken part of the sand dunes with it. Ocean waves pounding against the cliff to make it smooth. Is that weathering or erosion? If you said weathering, you rock at this. Yep, water or wind can actually smooth the rock. It's changing it and breaking it down. What caused this rock to look the way that it does today? Is this weathering or erosion? If you said weathering, you're correct. Those big waves over time can break down the rock. Last one, are you ready? The glacier moves sand across the bottom of the lake, so it's moving. A glacier is a big, big frozen block of ice. If you said erosion, you are a rock star at this. Erosion is when things move. Very good. You guys did awesome today. So here's your activity for today. First, there's a little song if you want to sing along. It goes to London Bridge is falling down. Weathering is breaking down, breaking down, breaking down. Weathering is breaking down of the earth's surface. Erosion is moving around, moving around, moving around. Erosion is moving around of weathered products. Do you want to sing that again with me? Weathering is breaking down, breaking down, breaking down. Weathering is breaking down of the earth's surface. Erosion is moving around, moving around, moving around. Erosion is moving around of weathered products. That's really helpful to let me know that weathering is breaking down and erosion is moving. So I want you to think about all the examples you saw today. Draw one picture to show weathering and draw one picture to show erosion. And bring it to your next class meeting so you can share with us what you drew and what you learned from today's awesome lesson.